Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This is actually the first in a 5-part series on Facebook coaching, okay? So if you have been struggling with Facebook, I have assembled 5 people who are each going to take a different aspect of Facebook and break it down for us, and so that we can start to move our businesses forward through Facebook. This first episode is going to be with Kate O'Hara of Martha O'Hara Interiors. Now, you remember Kate was on the show last winter, episode 130. And it's funny because I was looking back at my notes for that episode, and what I noticed was that she was originally recommended to me by Elena Gertz of House of Style and Design here in New Jersey, who previously I did not know, even though we're both here in the industry together in Jersey. We became Instagram friends. And the funny thing is by the time I had interviewed Kate, I still had not met Yelena in person. And now it's only about 7 or 8 months later, and we have become great friends. We've seen each other many times in person since then. And I'm very happy to say that at this point, both Yelena and Kate are good friends of mine, and I'm so appreciative. You hear me all the time complain about all of the responsibility and the time that social media takes, but that is the part of it that is really just truly a gift, the way it connects us and the way it leads to friendships, okay? So anyway, if you missed episode 130 with Kate O'Hara, I definitely suggest that you go back and listen to that episode, because in that episode, we talked all about Martha O'Hara Interiors, and they have an amazing interior design firm. It is based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Austin, Texas. And Kate O'Hara is the Director of Marketing and Business Development for the firm. And the thing is, in that program, she happened to mention that their Facebook following was over 200,000, and I checked this morning, it is now 213,000 and change. And Kate herself is the director and the one who is largely responsible for growing such a massive Facebook following for the company. Of course, working with her team. She credits her team for sure. But so here's what we're going to do. I said on that show that I had to figure out and I had to learn how she did that. So today is that episode where I asked Kate all about how we can best utilize our business Facebook page in order to grow our consumer following. All righty? So stay tuned there for a minute and hear a little bit about my Doma Studio, the designer platform for your project management systems. And then as soon as I'm done telling you about that, I'll be right back with Kate O'Hara. My great thanks to My Doma Studio, our podcast sponsor. What is My Doma Studio? Well, you know, as busy interior designers, that running your own design firm isn't just about designing. That's what we talk about here all the time, right? There's managing contracts, clients, payments, products, and a million other things that you have to have locked down. It is challenging, but you must run your firm efficiently so you can do the fun, creative things you enjoy so much. And that's where My Doma Studio comes in. I'd like to invite you to try My Doma Studio today. Go to mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business. Designers around the world are using My Doma Studio. What about you? Let My Doma Studio help you organize the business side and spend more time on the designing side of your firm. I'd also like to share with you that Vin, Bill, and myself are so impressed with My Doma Studio that we have invested in this company. So see for yourself what My Doma Studio can do for your interior design business. And if you visit using the link mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business, you will receive a special offer just for you as listeners of the podcast. Hey, Kate, thanks so much for coming back to A Well-Designed Business.
Hi, Luann. Thanks for having me. It was so great last time.
Yes, I am. I told everybody before you even left, I was like, you're coming back. You really are a smart woman over there handling the marketing over there for Martha O'Hara Interiors. And you know exactly what piqued my interest, that you and your company, you have grown your Martha O'Hara Interiors Facebook page to 200,000 followers. And I said this to you off air. That's not, oh, okay, a lot of companies have 500 and you have 2,000, which would be impressive enough. 200, that's the kind of followers that, Coca-Cola gets, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like, this is like an interior design firm. Like, my brain is just exploding at this. And so you have so graciously decided and accepted the invitation to come back and help us figure out and understand how we can attempt to duplicate what you have done over there for your interior design firm there. So tell us, where do we even start? What's the first? Because I'm sure that probably, you know what I was about to say, half the interior designers listening, but the truth is I have no idea how many, but a lot of us have Facebook pages. So,
Sure.
We're not necessarily, I don't know, are we starting with the way we set it up to begin with, or are we going to start with, we assume it's set up and it's mechanically up and running? So where are we starting with this, Kate?
Well, so I actually think it's worth taking a step back, because you can, we have a lot of followers. You've definitely mentioned that. We do have a lot of followers, but Facebook is changing often. And so it really never hurts to go back and look at how you have things set up, because every few months something on Facebook is changing. Really, it's changing faster than that, and you don't always know about what's changing and what new you can do. So I would suggest that it's really not going backward to always kind of check in with how you are set up, updating your profile, updating things as time passes.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Okay.
But I would even say maybe take one step further back and start with thinking a little bit about the Facebook platform itself and what you want it to do for you, which maybe sounds simplistic, but I don't think it is. I think that one of the mistakes that businesses make is just kind of throwing everything that they can think of onto their news feed. Here's a link. Here's what we did today. Here's a cool quote. Here's an event we're going to. Here's a pretty picture. And they're throwing everything up there because they're worried about content. We need to have content. We need to be posting. And I think that when you do that, you don't wind up branding yourself very well or creating consistent posts that your viewers can rely upon to know that they'll like. They'll like every fifth post you do. But that means that there are 4 posts you're making that aren't relevant to them or that they're not going to engage in. So I think that the first thing you have to do is think about how you want Facebook to work for you, because it can work in so many ways. Okay. It can be so many different things to different businesses. For some businesses, it's really ad focused because they want that call to action sale, and that's the easiest place for them to do it. For some businesses, it's about branding on a national scale. For some, it's much more focused locally. For some, it's about using Facebook to establish and maintain relationships with their clients and staying in front of their clients because they hope they'll be future clients. Sometimes it's about connecting with vendors and other home professionals. There are just a lot of different things that you can do and use Facebook for. I last year was talking with a builder, the marketing manager for a builder in the Twin Cities. And she said to me, it's so impressive, the following that you have, but to tell you the truth, we wouldn't want that following. And the reason is and it made perfect sense to me. It made perfect sense to me. They're a local business, so they don't want to have the followers that we have all over the world and all over the United States. They really want the majority of their following coming from a local network, where we're a national brand, we're becoming a national business. We do a lot of work in the Twin Cities. We do a lot of work in Austin, Texas. We have offices in both of those places. But the truth is, we're working from coast to coast and even internationally. So we're happy to see our following grow in that way. So part of why we've been able to grow as fast as we have is that we've had a much broader pool and population to find followers within. People who are really focused on a specific market, they're going to have a smaller following, and that's really okay because their following is qualified.
Right.
So I think that kind of taking that moment to sort of audit, what do you want Facebook to do for you? And then thinking about the type of posts that are going to be relevant to the people who are following you on Facebook and who you want following you and who you want engaging, because all it takes is one post that someone finds annoying for them to unfollow you.
Okay. Let me break it up for a second though before you go farther. So if we recap it a little bit, I think it's genius that you are starting at square one, and it's just like everything else. We've talked about it many times on the podcast in regard to our website. What is your ideal client that you're trying to attract? So, it's sort of like, hello, that's so obvious, Luann, but I hadn't thought about it before. You're suggesting that we need to do the same thing when we look at our Facebook page. Who and what are we trying to attract? So if I recap some of the things that you mentioned, we could possibly, as a local interior designer, be looking to literally attract local new clients. That's one purpose of Facebook. Another could be to just connect with the greater design community in my area. A third could be to start to branch out and establish myself and my firm as a national firm. What were some of the other things that you said? It could be your motivations, because I think that that's very helpful to make sure that we have that little list of the possible motivations, because then we can sit and think about our business and get finite on what our goal is there. So
sure. It can be about branding. It can be a tool for really clarifying your brand. It can be a place where you really promote that's all about PR, and you're really promoting all the other things that are going on in media for you. It can be a place for where you generate sales if you sell product. But the way you might go about that is probably going to be a little bit different from what we'll be discussing today, because that usually involves advertising.
Okay. So now, I remember what I wanted to make the distinction in there. You could be interested in your local market, but you also suggested there's two different point of views within that. You could be interested in just being in front of your community and engaging your existing clients and being a place for, say, a resource to answer questions and where, how do I put the mirror or this or that? Or you could be interested in the local market, but in trying to attract new clients. Like, those are two different things. One, building your community and interacting with your community, and attracting new clients. That's sort of a nuance there within there, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it's those nuances where you can find a lot of success on just about any social media platform, and Facebook in particular, because if you can really define who you are, if you know who you are, if you know who you're reaching out to, then you can really craft a consistent message that is going to be really engaging to that focused group of people that you're reaching out to. Or if you're like us and you're reaching a much broader spectrum of people, that changes how we craft our messages. Our messages aren't going to be really focused on any one area, and we're probably not going to promote local events on our page when we're reaching such a broad array of people geographically. You really kind of think about that.
So it's sort of like you have to edit yourself just the way others have advised us. If you are, I recall someone on the show said that if you are an interior designer that is consistently being asked by your potential clients to do one room, but you want to transition your firm into being a full service only, like the whole first floor, say, or something like that, a full on project, then stop posting on your website projects that were one rooms, like put out there what you want the phone call to be.
Right.
So what you're saying,
job.
Okay. So what you're saying is that if your focus is national, like your company, but then you're having a get together in Austin, you're not going to put that on your Facebook because you've decided that your Facebook, and I'm making an assumption that you've decided your Facebook point of view is national. So even though that's a great event or something like that, you're saying pull that back because the 185,000 people that follow you that are not in Austin, I said Nashville, didn't I? Austin, don't care about that. Is that what you're saying to me?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And you're right. If you scroll back on our Facebook feed, it's pretty rare for you to see us post event related things on our page. We do it occasionally, but it's very occasional.
Okay.
But
and
there
I think
are other
you're right. I think we all just think, hey, whatever's happening, just throw it up there. Let them know. Who cares?
It's like this feeding frenzy. I need the content. Let me post. This is easy. Here's a link. I can throw it up there. And but there's a link someone cares about, and there's a link that's just gumming up their news feed. And who do you want to be?
I can see that distinction. It makes perfect sense. Okay, so step one: identify what we want out of our Facebook fan page. Do we want new clients? Do we want a community for existing clients? Do we want to just use it as a branding, not just as, but do we want it to be a branding arm for our firm? Okay, so these are the possibilities. So once we've done that, are we moving to step two, or what's next, Kate?
I think that once you've done that and you've kind of taken the time to give some thought to who you're reaching out to, that might change the type of post you're going to put together. But now let's set that aside and let's talk about kind of step one on Facebook. Now you know why you're here. So now let's talk about how to set up the page.
Okay.
So your first step in terms of setting up or revisiting your page setup would just to go back and look at how you've set up your business page. Of course, you have a page set up separately from your personal page. You need to do that.
You do, hopefully, right?
You have to do that.
Like you need a separate checking account from your personal account.
It's important. Facebook does not like it, and actually you'll get into quite a bit of trouble if you try to use a personal page as a business page. But you also want to set your custom URL. So Facebook will let you kind of that facebook.com / whoever you are.
Okay.
You can set that, and you might want to adjust it based on how they set it for you. You want to fill out your about page. All that information about yourself is worth taking the time to fill out and to consider. The category you're in, your username, the little information about your story, all of that actually is important. It doesn't always seem important, but it really is. You'll get people contacting you from your page, and you'll also make yourself more searchable. It helps in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And then you want to make your page really visually appealing. So don't ignore the cover photo. The cover photo is a huge opportunity for businesses, especially one as visual as ours is, as our industry is. So use that cover photo, use the thumbnail photo. Usually the thumbnail photo will be a logo or a picture of you, but that's kind of the thing, that's your identifier. And then your cover photo is almost your auxiliary branding, I guess I might say. It's the way to kind of show people, give people a view of what you do or what you offer. But the logo or your face, that's the thing that will be showing up next to every post that you make.
Okay.
So those are just kind of the basics. And then the other thing that you can do is Facebook has a lot of options now that allow you to set up calls to action. So a call to action doesn't have to be buy this thing. It can be call us. So you can actually create on your business page a contact us button. And it's always easier to do that than for someone to try to go sifting through your information to find out how to contact you.
Okay.
So that's something I would certainly recommend. You can use that too to set up newsletter signups and other things.
Okay.
MailChimp and Facebook are working together in a variety of ways now, I believe. Actually.
Okay, so if somebody
very
has
newly happened.
Oh, really?
I think you can now actually design Facebook ads from MailChimp if you already are using MailChimp.
Wow. Okay. And so if somebody has possibly an ebook that they've written, you're saying that can be connected to the Facebook business page, and they can that could be a call to action that they can get the ebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are a variety of things like that you can do. And I can't honestly say I would know exactly how to do all of them, but Facebook makes it pretty easy for you if you'll just sit down. Don't let yourself feel intimidated. Just play around with it.
Right.
You can always delete something if you accidentally post something you didn't mean to. If you thought you were searching and you accidentally posted, you can always delete.
Right. Exactly. It's like, Okay. All right. So we want to make sure our whole About Us page is filled out and accurate and grammatically correct and, spelled well. All of those things. No sense trying to make a great impression and dropping it on something silly like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. All the setup really does is it gives you credibility, and it helps set the tone for what your page will be. So take the time to do it and do it right. If you're uploading an image and it's stretching in a really weird, goofy way, don't leave it up there. Fix it. Take the time to fix it. Find someone who can help you fix it, or just post something else in the meantime. But don't leave things up there that really look unprofessional, because then you're sending a message that you're not professional.
Right.
And people consciously and subconsciously take in these messages pretty quickly. So yeah, and I think that once you've done that, then you get to start thinking about the posts that you're doing, that you're creating. And this is really the most important in my mind part of what we do on Facebook at Martha O'Hara Interiors.
So tell us a little bit about that. So how would we do this discussion, Kate, since there are different posts that are going to be pointed at different goals, should we pick a goal? Should we use your company as an example, how you created a national brand, or do you have the ability maybe to relate it a little bit more to a smaller firm that maybe their goal is to create awareness in their neck of the woods? Are you able to kind of switch gears with that? And because I think that might be more broad. I think there's more people that are trying to create a following of, 5,000 engaged people from their demographic as opposed to 200,000 people from across the world.
Right. No, I think that the nice thing is Facebook is really flexible and viewers are really flexible. So it's actually easy to talk about both.
Okay.
It's, I think Facebook really starts with the fact that it's an incredibly visual platform. It's a platform that encourages engagement. It encourages conversation, but it's not Twitter where it's nothing, almost nothing but texts and links. There is a lot of opportunity to share your work, but to do it in ways that will feel meaningful to the people you're talking to. And this is where it kind of doesn't matter if you're talking to a local audience or a national audience. How you go about it might be different, but what you're going to do or how you'll get there will be very similar. The idea is, okay, we know we want to promote our visuals. We want to promote our work. We know that we want to have a conversation with our listeners or our readers in this case. What are we going to do? How can we post our images in a way that's going to feel useful or fun or engaging in some way to other people? And maybe instead of promoting, you find ways instead to actually make your visuals a sort of interaction between you and all of your followers. That's in a nutshell what we've done, and I think you can see evidence of that on our Facebook page and the types of posts that we create. We're creating a conversation. We're giving people sometimes tools and sometimes just opportunities to have some fun with the work that we've done and the things that we do.
So be a little specific for me. What goes through my mind is that you're probably in there saying, teach people something, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than just put something in front of them. Is that sort of where you're going with it? So for instance, you're saying something that's useful or something that is fun and engaging. So instead of just saying, oh, here's my install from today, what are you doing? Are you trying to start a conversation about it? Are you saying, what are you doing that's giving that extra layer of usefulness or fun to it?
Sure. So instead of saying, here's the install we were on today, we might say, here's a great lesson from the install we were on today. So the photo is what kind of captures the attention, but then the message might be, here's something you can, here's the takeaway of the day. And we might even put that takeaway on the image we're posting itself. We might create a graphic that has the lesson learned directly on the image, so that the image kind of tells the whole story. But if someone wants a little more backstory or information, they'll find it in our status post.
Okay, so what does that mean? So for instance, maybe here's the lesson we learned today. That what are we talking about? Are we saying like, don't put the dishwasher 15 feet away from the refrigerator? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what
right. Yeah, well,
like, what
it might be. It might be a, we might post something about, mixed metals are, absolutely can work in any situation. And, with a photo of kind of an unusual or unexpected situation where we did it. Okay. On our page, we like to keep things positive. So we do a lot more, yeah, you can do this, rather than no, don't ever do this. Right. Yeah, there might be something like that.
Their horizons. The consumer that's looking at it, you're asking them, to imagine maybe some. Okay, now my brain's clicking. So maybe it's something like an unusual type of light that maybe you wouldn't normally think of as going over a dining room table, and you're saying, look at this light over this dining room table. It might look like at first glance it's mixing styles, but look at how we learned our lesson today that it worked terrifically, or our client loved it.
Exactly. Don't be afraid of doing this. Here's a chance, a visual where it worked.
Okay.
And we'll do other things too to get engagement. We'll create a lot of it. On our side, if you go onto our Facebook page, you'll see we do a lot of we play around a lot with our images. We do a fair amount of graphic design with our images. So we do take some time on these. We don't just post the photo. We'll go in and we'll have a photo, and we might have like, here are 4 steps, 4 ways to get to this look. And we'll point out 4 of the kind of key elements of the room. Or we might say, here are two different bedrooms in the same house. Which one would you sleep in? Here, and we give people a reason to interact, or we try to provide them with something a little bit educational, but in very small bites, in a very easy to process way, because,
right, we're not sitting there with a pen and paper when we're doing Facebook. We're in line at the Starbucks. Right?
Yeah, this is not like a web tutorial that we're doing. This is almost like a very mini infographic at most.
Right.
So that's what works for us, because it hits this broad range of people. Now, if we were working more locally, we might do something similar, but we might really try to emphasize the local market that we're in somehow in a lot of the photos that we did, and a lot of the people and things that we're tagging. We might really play up the other home and industry and even media professionals that we might be tagging in images, because it would be relevant to them, and might even create a little bit of synergy, I suppose, in getting them to tag back or share.
So your vendor team, your extended vendor team, maybe your window treatment professionals, or your tiler, your wall coverer, things like that, your kitchen cabinet maker, you really engage back and forth and highlight that you were on the project with them, and this is what happened, and this way the reader can see that everybody's local, right?
Yeah, we try to do that ourselves, even as a more, as a firm that works from coast to coast, because it only benefits us all when we're promoting each other.
Right.
That's always been my theory. And I think sometimes we can get a little territorial. People can get a little bit territorial about what I did versus what you did. And that's understandable. It is understandable. But I think that ultimately we serve ourselves best by being as kind of mutually promotional as we can be.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you have a kitchen cabinet person that you work with and you're generous in supporting and promoting, that firm, then when they are, faced with a client who wants to do it and they're not capable of doing without a designer, if they have good feeling, goodwill to you, they'll say, hey, why don't you use this designer? So yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that a lot. Okay. So I'm getting the nuance there, as opposed to just saying, here's our install today, everybody. I'm flipping amazing. This is gorgeous. You're saying, don't be afraid to try this when you mix this light or this sofa with this, that, or, here's what we learned. So I'm picking up on some of the phrases that are a little bit more enticing to the person flying through the Facebook feed, as opposed to just a passive looking at it. We want to try and grab them from that flipping through and get them to, want to answer that question or see the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, your posts, really, your social platform posts should not be about you. They should be about your viewers or readers or listeners. They should be created and crafted from the perspective of whoever your followers are.
What's in it for them, you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because really, I'm not thinking when I'm going through my personal news feed, oh, this sounds really important to them, so I'll read it. I'm thinking, is this important to me? And will I read it? So, you have to make it relevant and important to the people who are reading it. Think about the fact that they're just people like you sitting at their computer, and what are you going to stop and read?
We tend to forget that, don't we?
We do.
Well, it's funny because I have to say, I think that it is, one of the Achilles heels that we all face and have, because you put your business person hat on and you're like, okay, let me make a great impression. Let me, I'm an expert and let me show that I know this, as opposed to what you just said. Like, if I'm scrolling through, I'm not like, oh, that's really important for them. Good for them. I'm busy today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But what is it in it for me? Okay. And what you're saying is if you are, again, if we're using the example of somebody that's in a local area and he's trying to attract, look, in any one community other than, some rural communities, but like most cities, towns are 25, 30,000 people, right? So even that, the pool is, instead of having a 300 or 500 following on your Facebook, there's an opportunity there for even 1,000 of those 25,000 people, right? And so what you're saying is don't let them down. Don't teach them something once out of every 5 times and just put something in their face the other 4 times. If they come to rely on, when they go to you and your feed and they see your feed, if they come to understand that they're always going to get a tip or a helpful thing that helps them in their decorating or in evaluating how to select tile or how to, pick a wallpaper person, what's the criteria, and I'm going to make an assumption that it's like everything else we do. You're expressing, teach it. Some people will, take it and really try and duplicate it, but most people will say, yeah, I'll just hire them to do that, right?
Well, yeah, hopefully, we hope so.
Right.
I'll say too, little kind of Facebook secret here.
Oh.
When you're looking at your news feed, you're typically not looking at just what has most recently been posted. What comes into people's news feeds usually is what is recent and popular, what is recent and engaging. So if you're posting 5 posts a day, but nobody likes it, then you're probably not getting nearly the traction in other people's news feeds as you think that you are.
Okay. So you're not even, just because you posted it, it didn't even necessarily come up in front of your 2 or 3 or 4 or 500 followers. If it's not a popular post, it's not even getting fed to them.
Right.
Oh, that's a significant distinction for people to understand.
Which is why it becomes really important to think quality over quantity. Yes, you need to post regularly and consistently, but to get listed in a news feed, Facebook is really looking for those high quality posts, which means you want photos, you want tags, you want delightful copy.
Right.
You want to lead people to like or share or comment on your posts, because that is a big indicator to Facebook that this is a quality post. And the more that people engage, the more Facebook is going to work to promote you.
Right. And that I have heard that before. And I try and be very generous with all of the designers that I interact with and all of the businesses that I interact with, is because it's what you said is, if somebody's post is up there and it has no likes, then it's not going to be repeated by Facebook. But if it has not just a like, but a comment or a share or something, then that makes it have more importance. So, like, look, my personal, all my 9,000 cousins that I have on Facebook, who I love very madly, but, I could just like their post. But when I'm seeing designers post and I'm seeing businesses that I like and I support, I will either share it and or just put because you're saying, just even a comment lets Facebook know that it's been important to somebody. So just say a woohoo or that's amazing, because that boosts their post, correct?
It does, but here's the question.
Okay.
Do we want to be boosting a post that might get us an unlike from someone else because it really isn't a very good post? So there are pros and cons to all of this, right?
Okay, so I'm willy-nilly supporting everybody, but if their post isn't that great, I should.
Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but there are ramifications, right? If Facebook now thinks this is popular and it's really was kind of a bad post and was super self-promotional and not very engaging or interesting or entertaining or educational, then it's likely and hopefully not offensive. But if it falls into any of those categories, then people who suddenly are seeing it are likely to hide that post and possibly unfollow the poster. So the good news in all of this, there's very good news in all of this, and that's
so complicated.
That Facebook just gives you really great and direct feedback. So I can look and say, this sort of post, when I post this, I get a lot of engagement. And when I post this, no one seems to care. Right. Okay, I know I care, but if my Facebook followers don't, they're telling me something. Okay. This is an opportunity for me to learn and adjust course. They might one-on-one in conversation really care about this thing that I care about because I care about it. But that doesn't mean when they're sitting in front of their computer just entertaining themselves that this is meaningful to them. This other thing though is this is the thing that people are responding to. I need to focus more on that. And I need to focus more on that type of post. And you really need to pay attention. And that's, Facebook has fantastic analytics associated with it. You can actually go in and look at your insights and you can see, I personally am way far less concerned about how many likes to our page that we're getting than I am with how people are engaging with the posts that we put up there. Right. And that engagement, it turns into likes to our page. I think that's a lot of why we have as many followers as we do, because we pay so much attention to making engaging posts that people are sharing, that they're commenting on, that are relevant to them, and that they're not unliking us for posting. We notice and we pay attention when we post something that gives us a spike in unlikes, and we sit down and have a conversation about it. We say, what did we do wrong here? And we adjust course.
So wait, time out. There's not an unlike button. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if someone chooses to, I should be saying, I'm sorry, unfollow. Maybe.
Okay.
Unfollow.
Okay.
So they can
Understood.
hide your post, or they're not unliking, but I can hide a post and I can unfollow someone, a business or a person.
Okay.
Follow is the word I should have been using.
Okay. So now that's a great point to bring up, that we, as we listen to your advice and we organize our thoughts into what our number one primary goal in Facebook is, and we formulate our plan of attack, for lack of a better way, to how we're going to direct our messages in order to inform and get to our goal. But once we actually start to do it and we start to develop our posts and we start to develop our copy and the different leading sentences that we start with, don't just leave it out there for the wind. Then go back and analyze, say, the last week's worth of posts or the last 2 weeks worth of posts and what kinds of things, got opened and got clicks through or got likes and what kinds of things were just sitting there like in the wind, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I have been to conferences where people get so deep into all of the data and analytics that can be done on social media and on websites. And it is so intimidating when you listen to these people talk. But it does not have to be, especially when you're just getting started and just kind of trying to build things up. This does not have to be an intimidating thing. You're really just looking at it. It's really
did somebody like it? Did they talk about it, right?
Yeah, take the data and the information and then apply a little common sense to it, and try as hard as you can to set aside the fact that this is your favorite photo in the world and nobody likes it. I can't tell you how many times after a photo shoot I've thought, oh my gosh, this is just going to blow everything out of the water. And then it's a photo of the staircase. There's not even furniture there. And it's the staircase that everybody's so excited about. And we designed it. And so I'm happy about it. But I'm thinking, how did this happen?
Right.
But it's because that staircase with the window seat in it, it is what is relevant to people who are designing their homes and think this is a really unique idea,
right,
as opposed to a beautiful room that is still, they're not thinking about their furniture yet for whatever reason.
Right.
So anyhow, I really think that, don't be afraid of the numbers. I hear so often people saying, well, I'm just not a numbers person, or that it just doesn't make sense to me. You know what? All the numbers they're just telling you how many times someone did a thing.
Yes.
That's it. That's really all it is.
Yeah. And what you're saying is that if you're inclined and you love, analytics and really this has turned you on and you love to do this, great. But if you're not, what you're saying is you really, at the bare minimum, just do it at face value. Go back and look at the last 6 posts and how, which ones had 10 likes and which ones had 0 and which one had 5 comments and which ones had 0, and sort of try to critically compare what might be the difference in the posts that generally. That's all you're saying to do. It doesn't have to be more complicated, right?
Exactly. And what you'll probably find is that people really like your link posts, or they really prefer your reposts of your blog if you have a blog. We don't, but if you did, if they might really love the images you post, or maybe you have a couple different types of images. Some are, things that you design graphically a little bit more, or that you spend a little bit more time on. Some are just on the go posts. This is where you're going to find out what are people responding to, and pay a little attention to that, because if there is a certain type of post that's always more popular, the others might still be important for various reasons, though I think you need to really ask yourself what those reasons are if people aren't responding to them. But the posts that are popular, you can probably find other ways to create posts like that won't feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Okay. So I have a great understanding of all of that, and I'm going to make an assumption that probably next on the list is to be actively engaged if people are commenting and so forth, right? That's got to be paramount of importance, right? To speak to your people.
Yep, absolutely. You want to be paying some attention to what people are saying. You want to be responding if they're commenting in ways that invite comment and response. You want to stay quiet if you're asking the sorts of questions that invite a comment that you shouldn't be responding to. And you also want to really just pay attention to the community that you're creating on your Facebook page. Is it staying positive? And if it's not, what can you do to turn that tide? That's another thing that as your following grows, you get to pay some attention to, because you can create a really positive and supportive atmosphere on your page, or you can create a very critical atmosphere on your page. And that's not entirely, but to a pretty strong degree that can be up to you. And it also is an opportunity for you to, edit or quiet. If someone says something that's truly unkind or offensive, there are things you can do to, either you can delete the post, but you can also just silence that person within that comment feed so that they can still post to, they can post all they like, but no one's going to see it.
Well, and it's funny that, so, you bring up a good point, something that happened with us over the fall and just recently in 2016 in the fall on the WindowWorks Facebook page. There was and the point here that I'm making is that you really do have to go in and look at your page and see what's happening on at least a daily basis, because there was a gentleman that came in and posted some designer was saying something about a podcast episode and how much she enjoyed it and that she learned something from it, and he comes in and he says, well, that's just something to the effect of, that's just great that you care about that, but you don't care about putting my window treatments up, and I've called 5 times and nobody calls me back, and if that's what you call customer service, and I'm like looking at this post like, what is this, right? And of course, Luann, the real Luann has got to back that up right there. She's got to take a second and breathe, okay? And so I was like, and I'm looking at this name, and then I go to his profile, and I don't know him, and he's from another state. And now I call the office, and because we do have clients from out of state. Now, normally I would handle almost any client that comes from out of state, but it's not a fait accompli. So I call, is this one of our clients? Check the computer base, check the email, search everywhere. And we're finally, and I finally just, satisfied myself that I really did not think this was one of our customers. And so I go into the post and I said to him, it sounds like you're having a horrible experience with a window treatment company, but I have to say, I don't think it's mine. I'm located in New Jersey. This is my first name. This is the names of my partners. Did you deal with us? And, he took him like a day to come back, and he's like, oh no, wrong company. I'm like, dude, you got to do a little more than that there. You have it out there for the world to see, I'm like, so then I came back, I went to him on private, and I was like, I'm glad that you're satisfied that it's not me, but I need you out there on the public thing to say, I've made a mistake. This is not the WindowWorks I was looking for. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the things that can happen online. One thing that we've occasionally run into is we'll post images of our work, and we'll ask for people, as I said, to, which of these 2 rooms do you like most? And occasionally someone will come in and say, neither's really to my style. Well, that's fine. But if someone comes in and says something really almost offensively critical about the space, my thought is immediately going to our homeowner and our designer. Yes. And I'm thinking, well, I really hesitate ever to feel like I'm censoring, our space.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I need to be really sure that we're taking care of our designers and our clients themselves.
Right.
And so if something comes up and I'm thinking, this doesn't really contribute to the conversation, something constructively critical, sure, but this statement doesn't. And that's when I won't ban that person or anything, but that's where we'll sometimes go in and say, this is going to be a comment probably that only this person and their friends can see. The rest of our community doesn't need to see that.
Right.
Because it certainly isn't the popular opinion, but really more importantly, it's not something that we want, to hurt the feelings or offend
and it's
anybody else.
So non-productive.
Well, exactly. It's
you don't have to like
area,
everything.
When
Shut
you're
up
choosing,
and keep going through the feed, whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's tricky. Because you really want people to feel like they can share openly, but you are ultimately in control of the tone that you're willing to accept on your page. It is your page,
right.
And you do get to make that decision.
Saying take the responsibility for it, and don't feel like you need to just let every willy-nilly comment to be on there if it's hurtful to your particular client or your employees. I like that.
Right.
Yeah,
and
people have to be good citizens of the world. Come on, let's just stop that.
Yeah, I mean, people. So, and at the same time, so long as someone's communicating in a polite way,
right.
I'm not going if it's critical or they're just saying, that's not really my thing, that stays up there. People get to have opinions.
Right.
I just hope that they share them positively. And yeah.
Right.
So that's something to do. The other thing that becomes important along the way, kind of the next step, is to start scheduling out your posts.
Okay.
Because you probably don't have the time to sit down every day, figure out what that day's post is going to be, construct it, post it. That would be incredibly time consuming and more than probably anybody wants to do. But just about everybody has time to set it aside once a week, once a month, to put together a batch of posts that they can then schedule to post on a daily, weekly, however often basis. And Facebook is handy because it has a scheduler right there in its interface that I would recommend over something like Hootsuite because it is designed very specifically to work with Facebook.
Okay.
And Facebook's scheduler is for Facebook. So everything you post there will make it seem it will be totally native to the Facebook platform, where sometimes when you're using third-party schedulers, things can get a little wonky or not be quite as optimized. So, but it's important that you be consistent in your posting, that you post regularly. And this is one way to make life a lot easier in accomplishing that. This way, you can go on vacation and not have to worry about it because you've got the next 2 months scheduled out.
Right.
And that's something I can tell you we do, is we always have things posted out, so long, so that if somebody does take a vacation, if something comes up and we just can't focus on Facebook for a couple of days, we're always scheduled far enough out that that's not a problem.
And in the nitty-gritty of that, Kate, is it the sort of thing that a particular post, if it's, say, one of those, don't be afraid to try mixing metals or whatever your example was, you'll schedule that multiple times throughout the course of a week. That one post doesn't just go one time. It repeats. Is that correct?
Not for us.
No.
That one post, we just post the one time.
How many posts do you schedule for each day? Do you do 1 post a day, 5 posts a day?
We do 1 to 2 posts a day.
Okay, but that's an insane beast right there. If you're scheduling 2 months out, that means you're coming up with 60 to 120 posts. That's a full-time job.
When you say it like that, Luann, it sounds like a lot.
It is a lot.
Made it sound like a lot. Well, this is why I say, however often you choose to post, you really can. There was a time when we were posting 3 times a week. It has been
bite off what you can chew.
Please do. Please do.
Okay.
You are so much better off posting once a week consistently than 10 posts 1 week and then silent for 3 months and then 5 posts. So much better to be consistent. Bite off what you can chew and schedule things out.
Okay.
Some posts are so much easier to put together than others that they really can be done really quickly. Some actually do take a little time depending on the type of post you're doing.
Well, and I'm not even talking about putting them together. I'm talking about thinking of them, for crying out loud.
Right.
I'm going to have to go study your Facebook page and I'm going to suggest that everybody listening do the same thing. So just to get an idea, a little bit more of a clearer idea of the kind of creativity that you're coming up with, because you don't even, even you, as big a firm as you are, you don't have 120 projects in 2 months that you can post. So are you taking little vignettes of maybe you have one particular project and you've got 20 pictures from it. So you sit down with it and you're like, oh, there's a little slice of the coffee table. Let me give a little teaching moment about the way we set the coffee table up, and you're doing like 10 pictures from one project and then posting them out?
We might do it that way. One thing I think used to do is we would get a project in, we'd post the whole project as one album, and then that was it. And we realized pretty quickly, this is not very sustainable. This is not going to work for us. So that's when we started thinking, okay, 1 photo at a time, there we go, or 2 if we're comparing. But what we'll do is, we're not afraid to reuse a photo from the past. So we've been around for many years, and we have some photos that might be 5 years old that are still absolutely stunning today, and we haven't posted them in a year or so. So we
Okay.
will repost or reuse projects from the past. So when I say that we won't post something more than once, what I mean by that is we won't use the same exact post
Right.
more than once.
I
But that's
see.
not to say that we won't reuse photos in more than one way.
Right.
And I think you'll also find in studying our page that we kind of have come up with types of posts that really work for us. And when you kind of define the parameters of your posts, it becomes much easier to fill those blanks in, to be like, okay, I need to do two of this type of post this week and two of this type of post. Suddenly you're much more focused, because when you have every possibility as an option, it's really difficult to come up with what you're going to post. When
Yes.
you've kind of come up with some categories of types of things that you post every week, then it becomes a lot easier to fill in those blanks.
Okay. Okay. I can understand that. That makes sense. Yeah, it's just like anything else. You have to break it down and put it into its little verticals, right? And, plug it in as you need it.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Whereas I tend to sit there and, stare at the wall or stare at Kim and say, what should we do?
Right.
Okay. I like it. But I think the big message, Kate, I'm hearing the big message is two things for me: is get very clear on what you want to accomplish with your Facebook page. And I think that anyone who is listening to this show that has listened to even half of the previous podcast can relate to that, from the standpoint that, like I said in the top of the conversation, we've discussed that many times in relation to just presenting ourselves to the world as on our website and so forth. So it's just fine tuning it in one more location. And maybe, you have a goal for what you're suggesting is you could have a goal for your business and your identity and your brand for your business. And that could be the same for Facebook, or you could use Facebook as a tool that supports that and really get it into a finite goal. So I like that. And then the other big message that I'm hearing is, well, a couple others that I'm hearing is consistency and analyzing, even at the very cursory level, what's working, what's not working, and teach something, be useful, have your tribe want to know what you've said, the latest thing that you've said, because they always feel like they get a takeaway from it, or they get some enjoyment from it. Maybe it's just that, like you said, it was happy for them that day. It was fun, but it wasn't about us. Like, we were amazing today. We did this. We did this, but look at what I can teach you through what I did, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. And then after that, it's engagement. It's be a responsible leader to your page, and talk with the people that engage with you, and be respectful, and weed out those crazy pants people.
Yeah, and remember, when you're handling anybody who isn't happy with you, if it happens, and I hope it doesn't, but if it does, if you're responding in a public forum, remember that the person you're responding to is almost the least of your worries at that point.
Yes.
What really matters is
110% agree.
how everybody else sees you respond.
Right, exactly.
You may never be able to turn that one person around, but everyone else is going to hopefully walk away thinking, now they're a class act.
That's right. Well, and that's why you have to check yourself and you have to think.
Yep, exactly.
You can't just say what you feel like saying.
Right. Take that deep breath.
No, it's true. I mean, it's definitely true, because you are teaching and showing people how you handle yourself as a business person. And it's always the tough situations that are the most critical. I mean, we say it in our business all the time. It's the the projects that we have problems on can be and often are our greatest opportunity to make a customer for life. You know what I mean? Because if you can handle them well and turn it around and do everything you can to let them know that you're going to be respectful and care for them all the way through. Now, in this case, like you said, and that's not lost on me, that you might never get that one person turned around, but the rest of the people are watching how you are behaving, and that's important. And I agree. Yeah, it's only in the crazy head that you say all that other stuff. No, that's awesome, Kate. I love it. I think that you certainly did give us a lot of information. I don't think that anybody... I guess what I want to say is I think that there have been definite actionable things that you have taught us that we can do to build our Facebook page. But there should be no one listening that thinks, hey, do these 10 things and I'm going to have 200,000 followers. It's a process. It takes time. But if it's your goal to develop a very large page, and like we said, 5,000 people in a small pond is a large page. And you only need, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 loyal, engaged consumers to affect your bottom line. You don't even need 200,000. But the point is that to apply these and to keep applying them and to be consistent, because it's not like you're saying, well, maybe one day when I achieve it, I'll let you know if it worked. It worked for you. So it's proof right there. So I'm very thankful that you shared your time with us and your expertise with us on this topic, Kate. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Luann. It's always fun to come talk with you.
Yeah.
I'm so proud to tell you that our podcast is sponsored by Cravat Inc., featuring CuratedCravat.com. You know, because I've told you a million times, that I've been a Cravat customer since the early 1980s. And the truth is, I can't say enough great things about Cravat Inc., except to tell you that now there's CuratedCravat.com. At CuratedCravat.com, they work so hard to source high-quality items for you and for your clients. And they really do make it very easy to find that unique piece to complete your interior design project. Do you know what a couple of my favorite parts are? First, it's trade only. That's right, they have your back at Cravat Inc. Second, they have no minimums. Isn't that awesome? And third, the ordering process is a snap. Design, click, delivered. It's so easy. You need to visit CuratedCravat.com today and be sure to use your discount code CKPodcast. You get to use that code for one order and you will get 10% off that entire order. CK Podcast at CuratedCravat.com. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.